Hello, I'm Joel Blackford with Beth Hassett Sabbath Fellowship. Thank you for joining us. We do the philosophy of eschatology, the thoughts behind the thoughts, what you need to know, your reality, our existence as we go forward into Revelation. We're working primarily on Revelation 13, 17, 19, and 20 because we have to have a false prophet. And I'm arguing in this video that it's not about making Catholicism great again. There's no reformation going on there. It will be about making globalism great again. There has to be the globalist puppeteers behind this, and that's what I'm arguing. That's what's occurring with this. So what do we do again? We do the philosophy of the end of days. We try not to twist the Bible. We are giving you prophecy. Some of it is not necessarily what you consider to be biblical when we talk about the prophecy of the popes from Saint Malachy, but we'll give you the news because it's in there, and there is a new pope. And keep in mind, so that the consistent thought throughout it all is you have to get to Revelation 19 and 20, Revelation chapter 19, verse 20, and then Revelation 20, verse 10, which talks about the Antichrist, we call him, the beast, and the false prophet. So in the meantime, we have other people that are playing the games too. We have the puppeteers, we're going to call them. Obama, a puppeteer, supposedly, according to LifeSite News, back on February 20th of 25, forced the U.S. Benedict out. So Pope Benedict out. It's very interesting. Did Obama officials force Pope Benedict's resignation? So he announced his resignation in 2012, according to Tom Horn and other sources. And then in 2013, he actually resigned under lightning and things like that, and Pope Francis took over. So shortly after the first inauguration of President Trump in 2017, an open letter was published in the Remnant newspaper requesting an investigation into potential involvement of the Obama administration in the affairs of the Catholic Church. Specifically, they wanted to know if the U.S. government was involved in the sequence of events that resulted in the resignation of Pope Benedict the, 16th, yeah, on February 11th of 2013. But he announced it in 2012, so it stays with the prophecy. What I'm arguing is that there is this puppeteer aspect of Chicago politicians, Obama from south side of Chicago, Francis, who is part of the globalists, Leo the 14th, who is from south side of Chicago. He's a Sox fan, and Pietro Parolin. They're all globalists, big G, okay? So it doesn't really matter. The puppeteers are acting. Was Pope Francis part of Christendom? Yeah. Will the new pope be a part of Christendom? Absolutely. It's just that weird merger of allowing anything into the church, anything at all, idols and things like that. Like on the right-hand side, Eli David is saying the fake pope has never condemned the October 7th massacre. In this exhibition, he's exalting the Palestinian Jesus and the Kifa. Wow. Kami, yes, absolutely. Globalist, absolutely. Was he the false prophet? No, because he's dead. But it's still interesting. So the deep church married to globalist left. Absolutely. This is LifeSite again, March 6th of 2025. Archbishop Vigano. I like the guy. I like him a lot. Deep church has infiltrated the Catholic hierarchy. So I'm arguing consistently through the video, the puppeteers are in charge. And so there's a woke globalist left, and they seem to have power through the USAID program, and they've just been funding, the globalist elite have been funding these programs worldwide, the puppeteers, okay? And sometimes we're just looking at the puppets, but you have to think about who are the puppeteers, and we don't know who they are. They won't come out and say that. Once again, so this is, I'm arguing this is curse, curse, curse. Those who bless you will be blessed, and those who curse you will be cursed, and that's the God to Abraham. Hamas put out a statement on the death of Pope Francis. He was a great supporter of Palestinian rights, expressing his firm stance against the war and genocide in the Gaza Strip in the last months of his life. He leaves behind a huge void that is difficult to fill. No, the new guy, Pope Leo the Lion, will continue on with that, and also the puppeteers will, okay? So this is from Mel Gibson, citing Pachamama, which is a pagan fertility god that the Pope basically worshipped or allowed people to worship down in South America. And this is back in October of 2019 that occurred. William Ramsey, I'm pulling from him in terms of this information, and then I cite Mel on the right-hand side. Mel Gibson criticizes Pope Francis over slide towards religious pluralism. Mel Gibson really thought the Pachamama stuff broke the first commandment. Keep in mind, Catholics and Lutherans omit the second commandment and double up on the first, and split out the 10th commandment into two commandments. So if you're a Jew or any normal Christian, you're going to understand that you can't make a graven image, and that is the second commandment. Mel doesn't realize that. That's fine. I mean, they add that second commandment into the first, at least, so they don't omit the verbiage. So this is from Simon Caldwell. I'm sorry I didn't cite the source from Mel Gibson. Continuing on, more life site, because this is a Catholic thing. Did the false prophet Peter the Roman just die? So that's the problem. He died at age 88, and he was sickly. And so look at the right-hand side, the list of the people that are in line to replace him. Pietro Parolin, who I argue is Peter the Roman. And I'll give you the reasons why. You have to stick with the video. There's a Peter Turkson, there's a Peter Erdo, and others. We didn't get any of those in the list, and I'll explain why later on. Okay, so there's his body. He died, and we're remembering him and things like that. It's just interesting, to note that he did die. He didn't resurrect or anything like that. So, and it's interesting that one of the last people to meet with him was our Vice President, Vance. Very interesting. And Peter the Roman on the right-hand side, I'm arguing that Pietro Parolin does match, but stick with the video to understand why. That he has always been the leader of the Catholic Church. So the Pope Francis was really just a figurehead. He was the puppet himself. Pietro ran everything behind the scenes. He was the Secretary of State. So we'll get into that more. So now we're going to discuss prophecies and visions and dreams and things like that. There has been this Saint Malachy prophecy that I followed for many years. I own all the books, okay? Why do you think I'm recording it this way? Because I wanted to study this and figure it out. So Tom Horn, Chris Putnam wrote one of the books, or maybe three of the books about this. And this is a conspiracy theory, Chicago has a pope named Leo, the 14th, and the bears, and the bulls, and the Pope was a missionary in Peru, which has leopards, which means lion, bear, and leopard. So this is Revelation 13 or Daniel 7. No, but it's still interesting. There are good conspiracies out there that are interesting to view. So here are the books that I own. So Petrus Romanus from Tom Horn, Chris Putnam, Exo Vaticana, the rabbis, Donald Trump, and the top secret plan to build the third temple. Okay, fine. Thanks, Tom Horn. So Chris died years ago. He was a friend of mine. I will admit that. We talked because I was his little Jewish influence. And on the other side, I never met Tom Horn before he died. But they pushed this, and Jim Baker is dying right now, too. He's very sickly and old. The final pope with Tom Horn. So Tom pushed this for many, many years. It seems to be falling apart. I'll give you the reason why I think it still works. So let's continue on with the storyline of what's going on. This is from Irish Central. Okay, they're all Catholics. Okay, and for March 22nd of 2022, an Irish saint's eerie prophecy that Pope Francis will be the last pontiff. Well, he's not. Leo is the last one, potentially. Okay, of the 112 phrases, they all match up very, very well. And so the 111th Pope Benedict was the Gloria of the Olive. So he was a Benedictine, and so they're the olive tenders. And it works, and then the last one was supposed to be Petrus Romanus, which is Francis, but it didn't quite happen that way. All of these other phrases that you get to see, like Lilium et Rosa, the lily and the rose, and Fleur de Lis, the arms of Florence, and these monikers, these statements were created by these candidates years before they ever became pope. And so the labor of the sun, de labor solis, the eclipse of the sun, Carol of Wotia, was born in 1920 during a solar eclipse. Very interesting. So will Pope Francis be the last pope? There you go. That's what they're asking. So let's look at this way. It's the Cardinals' coat of arms. They choose this 20 to 30, at least 10 years before they ever become pope. And so they choose their coat of arms, they choose things about them, and then, this guy wrote in 1139 about things that occurred 900 years later. So many years before one could become the pope, a cardinal generally chooses their coat of arms when they are first appointed as a bishop, and often retains this coat of arms when they later become a cardinal, and then eventually some of them are pope. So it's very odd for these things to be this accurate. So there are just so many odd things about the Saint Malachy prophecy. And keep in mind, there was no Protestant Reformation in 1139. Okay, so I've followed Malachy Martin, and yes, he's talked about all of these horrible things occurring in the Vatican. He calls it Windswept House, that book right there. And then there's Petrus Romanus, again from Tom Horn. Is there Lucifer in the Vatican? That's what Malachy Martin argues, that Lucifer literally was able to get in there and do things. So once again, the quotes: Flos Florum, Flower of Flowers, Pope John Paul VI. Okay, De Meditate Lunae, of the half moon, Pope John Paul I. De Labor Solis, from the toil of the sun, John Paul II. They match up with their papacies, and so the half moon. John Paul died, came into power on the half moon and died on the half moon. The toil of the sun. Well, it does match up with his life. The olive growers, the Benedictines, chose that moniker years before. Is there a gap? I'll show you that. Just stick with me. In the final persecution of the Holy Roman Church, there will reign Peter the Roman, who will feed his flock amid many tribulations, after which the seven-hilled city will be destroyed, and the dreadful judge will judge the people. The end. Saint Malachy. Okay, so why am I sticking with the prophecy still? Just watch. Stay with me. Okay, so I love Malachy Martin. When I went through horrible things in 2006, 2007, literally demonic attacks and other weird stuff with my divorce, and I truly believe that they were brought in by my former wife, that she made a pact with Satan. And so in this case, Malachy Martin is saying there was a Luciferian enthronement inside the Vatican, with the following information from a quarter century. Malachy died in 1999, and so he literally said that there was a ceremony to enthrone Lucifer inside the Vatican. And so it's just interesting. And this occurred back, June 30th, July 1st of 1963. So just keep it in mind that there's this weird stuff going on. And this is, okay, so who is he? He was a Jesuit, and he was Roman Catholic. He was a priest. So just keep that in mind. And also the guy quoting this is Anthony Stein from Return to Tradition. So just and then look at the weird picture on the right-hand side, upper right, okay? Very odd stuff going on. So there has to be a false prophet. There has to be a Babylon, a mystery Babylon. Is Pope Leo XIV the false prophet? I don't know yet, but it is intriguing that Francis has died, Leo has taken charge. I'm going to argue something completely different than you're going to expect, and you'll just have to stick with the video. So, therefore, her plagues will come in a single day: death, sorrow, famine. She will be burned by fire. I'm arguing that is very similar to Leviticus 21 or 20 and 21, which talks about the only time that you can burn people is a daughter and a mother having relations with a man, or a daughter of a Cohen having relations before marriage. So she's burned. And so there seems to be a connection between Babylon, Mystery Babylon, and which I argue is America, because of the UN and the curses, and also because the Wilkerson and Dudeman both said that is America. So I'm saying that there is a little bit of a Babylonian system. There's a mixture going on here, okay? And big tech is behind all of it too. So that's Revelation 17 and 18. So, okay. Now, let's cover the dream section and things like that. So, Joseph's dreams, okay? Some of the dreams that were had were by Pharaoh and Nebuchadnezzar and others, and they're not godly people. And then you have to add Balaam into this, too. He had accurate prophecies given to him. Not a godly person. None of these were, okay? So, Joseph's dreams are real. They're scripture, but Pharaoh was not godly. Keep that in mind, okay? Also, Nebuchadnezzar, not a godly dude. And we have the Daniel 2 and the Daniel 7 dream. So the Daniel 2 is the statue. Daniel 7 is the four beasts. Not godly. Not at all. And eventually he suffers for 7 years because he's not godly and he's got a huge ego. But just keep in mind, Daniel was there to interpret it. So as you watch dreams and visions, I watch them all because There are Daniels out there that will interpret. God always provides that, so just keep it in mind. Part of why I'm saying that this is important is because I was a friend of Rebecca Sterling before she died, and so she gave us some very accurate visions that the Pope, whoever it happens to be, not necessarily Francis now, will be there at the toilet bowl, she calls it, which is that stadium in Rome, where he will hand the power off to the Antichrist at about the midpoint of the Great Tribulation. And you can see the scene there with the Pope and all these other creatures as the aliens, we call them, she calls them extradimensionals, are unveiled. And that's Revelation 9 and Revelation 12, where they're unveiled. Just get ready for it. And there will be 3 days of hell on earth during the time frame. And you can read avalanches, blizzards, cyclones. They're already starting to occur. Trust me. So choice is good. World peace is better. So you'll lose out on choice. Okay? But we have to have a pope. We have to. That's part of the program. Whether it's Francis or Leo the Lion, you have to have a pope to get it done, if he is the false prophet, which I'm going to continue to argue is the case. So once again, more pictures of these scenes and things like that. That's the link to the video. David Strode, A Voice Crying in the Wilderness, is where I get it for free. So you have to have strange creatures. You have to have an Antichrist in the middle of the picture here, and a woman that is involved with the peace program and things like that, but she's probably an alien. Then you have to have aliens, because the spiritual portals have to open. And June 11th, watch our show on June 11th and 12th, for that matter. We'll be talking about these dimensional portals and how they're shifting and opening, because we're getting ready for the end of days. Francis won't be a part of it, but E.T. and the guy on the left. And the popes have been involved in this for years. 1917, we had 70,000 Catholics witness a UFO portal in Fatima honoring Mary. Very odd. And they all saw it, and that's a picture from the scene. And then we also have this alien craft of some sort from the 13th of October of 1917, and we have Mary honored, and it's just weird stuff. Okay, the miracle of the sun in Fatima. Fatima is the daughter of Muhammad. Just keep that in mind, okay? And look at the dates that were chosen by the aliens, we'll call them, or Mary. May 13th, 1917, June 13th, July 13th, August 13th. But the kids couldn't make it because their parents didn't want them involved in this shenanigans. So the 19th, Mary showed up. Then September 13th, then the big deal on October 13th. Just keep in mind, way too much worshiping Mary going on in the Roman Catholic Church, and way too many graven images and things like that. I argue that the Queen of Heaven is actually an idol. So I'm going to lose out on all the fun with Pope Francis, but we'll have new scenes to work on, and a new pope, and really the new puppet and puppeteers. So the Pope pushes the extraterrestrials, which are people that don't belong in your land, via open borders, to just move into the European area or into America. That's what these guys have done. They're globalists, and they're puppets and puppeteers. Pope Francis, a dangerous advocate for open borders at the cost of Europe's Christian heritage. Yeah, Europe's going to fall. They're going to fall. So I'm arguing that the globalists are pushing this. This is rare citing this, but they're Marxists, okay? And they're globalists. And then there's also the connection again between Chicago, Obama, Francis, Leo the Lion, the 14th, and Parolin. They're all globalists. They're pushing for this, okay? And so I'm arguing for Parolin being still in charge, and that he is Peter the Roman, and he loathes Jews and Israel. A pope against Israel, not a good idea. Parolin's insistence on a two-state solution as a path to peace is also not only non-biblical, but also not tenable. Cardinal Pietro Parolin, the Vatican Secretary of State. This is accurate from Linda Marie Lovison. When they fire at Israel, it's a war. When Israel fires back, it's a war crime. Keep that in mind. And I can't stand Bill Maher, but he's accurate there. Communist losses today. Pope Francis died, and you know his name. I'm blanking on his name right now. You will love debugs from the WEF, Klaus Schwab. Klaus Schwab stepped down the same day. Interesting. And I believe that Pope Francis died on Easter Sunday. They just didn't report it until that next day. So, no respect for international law, says Parolin, as Gaza attacks increase. This is from the tablet. I'm saddened by all the resumption of heavy Israeli bombing on the Gaza Strip, causing many deaths and injuries. He said, I call for an immediate halt to the weapons and for the courage to resume dialogue with people that want to kill you. How do you dialogue with them? So that's from the 26th of March, 2025. Parolin on the right-hand side. Military response by Israel, considered high number of civilian casualties, raises many questions about the proportionality. So he's anti-Israel, time and time again. You'll see it more. Tensions between the Holy See and Israel have risen after the Cardinal Secretary of State Parolin called on Israel to stop the carnage in Gaza. What about the Gaza the Gaza that started it in October 7th? Oh, we don't talk about that. Okay, so Parolin hates Israel. Strained relations between Israel and Holy See cast shadow over papal conclave. Catholic Herald, May 6th of 2025. Relations with the State of Israel at the lowest level since diplomatic relations started 30 years ago. And they really got bad with October 7th of 2023. So basically, the Catholic Church doesn't care about the 1,200 Israelis. They only care about rights for Gazans. And the problem is Gaza's only been interested in killing Jews. That's their only goal the whole way through. So deplorable declarations, things like that. So, and that Parolin and Francis were like-minded in their hatred of Israel. And it's not going to change as we move forward because Parolin is still there running the Cardinals. So this is from Malachy Martin again. I just wanted to bring this up. The dirty politics. I have smelt the breath of Satan and heard demons' voices in the Vatican. Okay, so that's from the Irish Times again. So the enthronement of Lucifer in the Vatican, that's a YouTube link if you want to view that. On the right-hand side, Cardinal Parolin, the Vatican Secretary of State Parolin, was involved in Vatican-China deal, which sold out the underground church. Cardinal Zen said of Parolin that it was a shameless surrender, that the Parolin has a poisoned mind. Parolin praised the Amoris Laetitia, which contained at least 7 heresies. Okay, so he's running the show. He runs the Cardinals. Keep that in mind. So has there been a backroom deal to elect Cardinal Parolin as the new Pope? From LifeSite again. And this is fairly recent. This is, I think it's from 2024. Oh, no, this is obviously the last couple of days. We assume that Parolin, I picked Parolin. Okay, I picked him as Peter the Roman because he has been running the Catholic Church since 2013, and he was the puppeteer supposedly. Okay, and Parolin has friends with Rabbi Shmuley. Parolin has also celebrated by leading Italian Freemason as his preferred candidate, as LifeSite News reported. And the Church is still, if it has a shred of rationality, it must elect Pietro Parolin. He's running it regardless. It doesn't matter if he's Pope or not. So, continuing on with all of this fun, Peter the Roman, puppeteers, cardinals. So, this is from PBS News. Cardinals hold more rounds of voting after the first papal conclave votes fall short. I want you to see the purple in the middle there. Cardinal Pietro Parolin, I argue Peter the Roman, the 70-year-old Secretary of State under Francis, and a leading contender to succeed him as Pope, assumed leadership of the proceedings as the most senior cardinal, under age 80, eligible to participate. He's the puppeteer. Then the next sentence below that, Parolin seemed to have received the blessings from none other than Ray, the respected elder among the cardinals, during the traditional exchange. So he didn't need to choose himself to be the Pope. He just needed to get a puppet in there. And so Robert from Chicago is your puppet. And this is from Haller on the right-hand side. He found this article, and I don't know where it came from. But anyway, I'm citing Haller. For a divided church, Pope Leo's first Mass is an echo of Francis. So the comment on the bottom is the new Pope might be somewhat like the old Pope. That's the article. That's stating it. You're not going to see much of a change. The puppeteers aren't going to change. The puppets change. That's about it. So April 24th of 2025, the College of Cardinals gather. The Cardinals will choose Peter the Roman. This is me saying it's logical. He's Secretary of State at present. He's the operations manager. Saint Malachy was correct nearly 1,000 years ago in 1139. Pietro Parolin, Peter the Roman, has been operating the Vatican since 2013. And the time of Francis' ascension, he will become the face of Roman Catholicism as we enter the tribulations. Well, I was wrong, but I was right. He's still in charge of the Cardinals. He's the most senior guy and happens to be only 70 years of age. Final words, again, I'll give you one more time, St. Malachy's prophecy. Peter the Roman will pasture his sheep in many tribulations, and when these things are finished, the city of 7 hills, i.e. Rome, will be destroyed, and the dreadful judge will judge his people. The end. So, these are quotes from the new guy, Pope Bob from Chicago. The bears, the bears, the bears. I join my voice in prayers to those of my other brother bishops that we might work hard to end racism in our hearts and society. May God give comfort to the family of George Floyd. I live near Minneapolis, very close. In this time of anguish. St. Trump's bad hombres line fuels racism and nativism. Cali bishops send preemptive blast to DACA repeal. I stand with the dreamers and all the people who are working towards the immigration system that is fair, just, and moral. They don't care about fair, just, or moral. Okay, they care about chaos. They care about globalism. As Robert Prevost, he says, Cardinal Dolan, why Donald Trump's anti-immigrant rhetoric is so problematic. You know how he stands, and he's just a puppet. He's just a puppet. So Marty Bradeen talked about this and talked about how Daniel 7, or Daniel 2, rather, the statue seems to work out with this. No, I mean, actually, it's not Daniel's. It's Daniel 7. Daniel 7, the animals, which is the middle section right here. So the statue is Daniel 2. Daniel 7 is the lion with the eagle's wings. And he's saying that makes sense. That means that the Pope Bob is going to be, the lion Leo with the eagle's wings coming from America. I don't know. I mean, I think it's kind of weak. Now, I love this stuff with Daniel 2 and 7. And it does match up with Revelation, no doubt about it. But I would say, let's just go another direction, okay? Let's go with this. Puppeteering, okay? Obama was the puppeteer, and Biden was the puppet, okay? It doesn't matter who's the puppet. In this case, it's Peter the Roman is the puppeteer, and Pope Bob is the puppet. Okay, that's how it works. And regardless, there might be a guy behind Peter the Roman too. Okay, there are these few people in the world today that run everything. Maybe 33 people. We'll see. So once again, there's your puppet. There's your puppeteer. As Parolin is there, Peter the Roman is there. Pope Leo XIV lays out his vision and identifies AI as the main challenge for humanity. And this is from the AP. And so you can see them together. And Peter the Roman is the puppeteer, just managing things as the puppeteer, as I show you there. Okay, so just be aware of it. Leo was with. So Leo is Prevost, but then you've also got to have the other guys. There's Cardinal Pietro Parolin. I'm arguing that's Peter the Roman. He runs everything. And so they're arguing about AI, that this is going to be huge. This is coming again from Carlo Maria Vigano, who I like. Again, this is from 1/2 of 2025 from DISS Wire. Pope secretly working with WEF to destroy Christianity, usher in one world religion, Archbishop warns. So it doesn't matter who's the puppet or the puppeteer. It does matter that they're pushing towards globalism and destroying the world. Okay? And you need to have a false prophet. So ultimately, you have to get to 13, Revelation 13, which is about the false prophet. And you have to get to Revelation 17 that deals with it a little bit, and then 18 or 19 and 20 really deals with the false prophet. It states him specifically. So this is the other beast, another beast, the false prophet coming up out of the earth. It had 2 horns like those of a lamb. It also spoke like a dragon. It exercises all the authority of the first beast, the Antichrist, in its presence. It makes the earth and its inhabitants worship the first beast and the one whose fatal wound had been healed. It performs great miracles, even causing fire to come down from heaven onto the earth as people watch. It deceives the people living on the earth by the miracles it is allowed to perform in the presence of the Antichrist beast. And it tells them to make an image honoring the beast that was struck by the sword, became alive again. It was allowed to put breath into the image of the beast so that the image of the beast could even speak. And it was allowed to cause anyone who would not worship the image of the beast to be put to death. It also forces everyone, great and small, rich and poor, free and slave, to receive a mark on his right hand or on his forehead, preventing anyone from buying or selling, that's the mark of the beast, until he has the mark. That is the name of the beast or the number of its name. This is where wisdom, Sophia, is needed. Those who understand this should count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a person. The number is 666, Revelation 13, 11 through 18. That's what's coming, people. And I believe that you need a false prophet for that, because there is the false prophet in chapter 19 and 20. So it's 19 verse 20 says, but the beast was taken captive, and with it the false prophet. I believe that will probably be the Roman Catholic Pope, okay, who in its presence had done the miracles, and that's Simeon, which he had used to deceive those who had received the mark of the beast and those who had worshipped his image. The beast and the false prophet were both thrown alive into the lake of fire that burns with sulfur. Yeah. So once again, false miracles are dunamis, like dynamite. Signs are Simeon, okay, and wonders are Terras, which are earthly bound. So he'll have the ability to replicate Yeshua in some ways by these gifts that God's going to give him, okay? So what's going on? What am I talking about? I'm talking about the false prophet and birth pangs since 2012. So Pope Benedict seemed to be forced out by Obama in 2012. Then I'm arguing that the third seal opened in 2012, okay, and I haven't been proven wrong yet. 313 of 2013, Pope Francis, under lightning shots, becomes the Pope false prophet candidate. But really, Parolin runs everything the whole time as the Secretary of State. Then from 2014 to 2015, we had the blood moon eclipses, were very interesting. A sign, I think a 10-year sign. 9 of 2015, Obama is Gog. That's the prophecy from Natan, and the now Orthodox Jew living in Israel. He's 10 years older. Wow. 2017, 2024, Trump comes into power, transfers to Jerusalem, the U.S. embassy. Could be Shemitah years. I'm arguing 2017 and 2024 sound like Shemitah years. Not much in 2018. 2019, Obama went to the Pergamum Museum, the seat of Satan, on Nisan 1. And then Notre Dame burned on Nisan 10, and his wife watched that. 2 witnesses. 2020 was the jibby jabber and the lockdowns, and King Trump loses. Then President Biden, Pope Francis to Shinar Babylon in 2021, 2022, 2023, 2024. Not that much, but 2025 is huge. Okay, is it a Jubilee year? I don't know. It's close enough, though. Trump is huge this year. So what's going on? We're in the birth pangs. There's no doubt about that. We're probably coming up to the 6th seal. I'm arguing that logically you'll have blood moon eclipses coming up this fall, September 8th, 7th and 8th, and then next year in March. And it could potentially occur. That would be frightening. That would be a wake-up call from God. Then the tribulation, then the great tribulation, Petrus Romanus. I don't know. You know, you can read the books if you want to, but there's a lot of things going on. I'm going to argue this is all about narcissism, and globalism is all about narcissism. And so you work on you. You need clean garments. You can't be naked. There's a Rosh Hashanah coming up, or a Yom Kippur coming up, or a Sukkot for that matter, and you'll be married on one of those days more than likely. And so there will be a false prophet. And you need to work on being a part of Yeshua's system and double down on your faith and getting those clean garments, okay? So there will be a false prophet, and more than likely it'll come from the Catholic Church. So thank you very much for your time. Thank you. Be blessed, and we'll see you again. Hopefully, be blessed.